Oh man, what an insane day it has been for crypto. CZ, the CEO of the world's biggest crypto exchange, officially steps down, resigns, and Binance could be set for an ever huge $4 billion fine. This is insane, guys. We're going to be covering off the DOJ press conference in the next 8 minutes, and they're supposed to be announcing something huge. But before we do that, let's quickly cover off exactly what has happened, what's the fake news, what is actually real, and what this means for the crypto space, because a lot of people are not sharing the exact details of what is going on. Okay, so let's take a look at this, guys. Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, was charged by the US with breaking sanctions and money transmitting laws and agreed to pay $4.3 billion to settle the allegations. Founder and CEO Changpeng Zhao, CZ, pleaded guilty. Yes, he pleaded guilty, guys, to his own charges at an arraignment in Seattle and agreed to pay a $50 million personal fine. Okay, so it's $4.3 billion for the company. Binance, he's got to pay personal, okay, fine, $50 million. Binance was accused of failing to maintain proper anti-money laundering programs, operating an unlicensed money transmitting business, and violating sanctions law, according to a court filing unsealed today on Tuesday. Zhao pleaded guilty to violating the Bank Secrecy Act and causing a financial institution to violate the BSA. His fine will be credited against the amount he owes at the CFTC. But listen to this, guys. This is the important bit, because remember, what I see going on now in the early days is CZ is taking a bullet here for Binance to try to protect Binance's existence. And I think that is one of the reasons why here in the market, we're holding up relatively strong. Now, remember, the press conference in the next 7 minutes, we're going to come on to what could be expected here from the press conference and whether we can get rug pulled again by what is spoken about. Because remember, the title of this press conference that's going to happen, let me see if I can pull this up for you here. Let's see this title here. See this, guys? That's the title. It says you can't see it there. Justice Department and partners to announce significant cryptocurrency enforcement actions. Is this just going to be about the CZ stuff and the 4.3 billion, which we know about, or is it going to be something new? As soon as that goes live, we're going to switch over to that and watch that together. Okay, if you appreciate that, guys, please smash up the likes. There's a bunch of you in here. Please do smash up the likes. It really does support the channel. So why is it that the price action is remaining pretty strong? I mean, we were dumping already today. I posted a video yesterday looking at the Bitcoin TA price action, and I said, look, guys, it's okay to get a pullback. We're okay if we get a pullback here. This is a rising, broadening wedge, and maybe it wants to pull back and break to the downside, and maybe we can come down towards 33. But to be honest, it's been holding up pretty strong. And I think the reason behind this, I think in the early moments, is this. Under the terms of the plea, Binance will have to appoint an independent compliance monitor for 3 years and report its compliance efforts to the US government. Zhao is prohibited, so he's not allowed any present or future involvement in operating or managing Binance. But look at this, guys. Though, that ban ends 3 years after the monitor is appointed. So this could open the door that CZ might be paying his $50 million fine, Binance will pay their $4.3 billion fine, CZ will just be on the board and be a shareholder for the next 3 or 4 years, right, while they do this whole compliance monitor program, and he could be back in the saddle in the next cycle, okay? And it's not like he's not going to have significant control anyway. So this could be being read as quite a positive situation. But that being said, we go into this press conference in the next 5 minutes and we don't know. We don't know what could be announced. What enforcement actions could there be? We know yesterday that the SEC went after Kraken again as well. That's also a problem. So it looks like the SEC were quiet for a couple of months while this spot ETF excitement was going on, but now they look set to throw the market back to the downside again. So lots going on here in terms of the CZ saga. Let's take a look here at Binance Coin. Of course, that's the natural thing to go and look at. Again here, down 5%. Not surprised here, getting rejected from the 260 level. And again, a lot of people are naturally going to go and short BNB coin. I'm personally not going to be shorting this, but you guys and many others will probably be shorting this right now because it's the natural thing to do when you hear something like that. That being said, is it really, really scary for Binance at this point? Probably not. They would have known about this for a very long time. They would have had this game plan. They knew CZ had a few concerns that they had to deal with. And the question now is going to be, what does this mean? Will this now mean Binance will actively have to pull out of certain markets? Will they strategically be in a bit of a bother? Will they struggle to grow now in the next bull market because they've lost their figurehead in CZ? Who are they going to appoint as the next CEO? And what does this mean? So much, lack of clarity right now, and loads more for us to kind of dive into over the next kind of 24 to 36 hours. But that's the news we've got right now. $4.3 billion fine for Binance, $50 million fine for CZ. He's stepping down as the CEO. They have to incorporate a compliance monitor for 3 years and report all their compliance efforts to the US government. And CZ cannot operate or manage anything to do with Binance, but that ban ends in 3 years. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. Hopefully I've broken that down in a clear enough format for you. 3 minutes until this DOJ press conference, which I will be switching over to. We will watch that together live. If you appreciate that, you appreciate me covering this for you guys here on an evening, smash up the likes. The other thing I did want to cover off with you guys was the FOMC minutes, okay? The key takeaways from the FOMC minutes, which came out, but just over an hour, or just shy of an hour ago. Normally I cover this, but given what's going on, it's not important, right? It was a muted FOMC minutes. Markets didn't read much into it. We are where we are in terms of the interest rates. They feel like it's suitable position to pause for now. And again, the market's pretty much expecting that we're going to remain paused. The next FOMC meeting, 13th of December, markets expect we're going to get paused. But we got bigger things to worry about right now, in that the biggest cryptocurrency exchange in the world is severely getting shaken up here tonight, with their CEO having to resign. Bitcoin here, surprisingly, very surprisingly, managing to kind of show a lot of strength here to the upside, which is very surprising, right? Very surprising here. That Bitcoin's managing to show such strength here and hold its level, and we just need to see what happens during this press conference now. So we'll definitely switch on over to that. Let me see if they've started their stream yet. Nope, no update on their stream just yet. I will switch over as soon as I get a feed from the Department of Justice. Let's also take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance here climbing here to the upside after a little period here to the downside. Again, nothing too crazy, right? You expect this. When things are shaky, when things are nervy, people flock to Bitcoin. It's the natural place for the markets to flock. So you can see here, markets, of course, here flocking to Bitcoin relatively, and we are starting to see a little bit of money flow out of crypto. You can see total here falling just about $23 billion here today. So $23 billion flowing out of crypto today. Again, that's nothing compared to the sharp rise we've seen here over the last couple of weeks. I mean, if you just take that there from the 12th of October to where we're at now, we're still 33% up in terms of the money flowing into crypto. So let's take a look here let's see what you guys are saying in the comments as well. Ijaz, that's for Binance US only, right? No, this seems like it's for Binance fully, guys. I'm not seeing anything that's stipulating Binance US. He was not the CEO of Binance US. This is Binance, the global company. Zan says, breaking, Gary Gensler to take over as the CEO of Binance. Yeah, of course. People are falling for that, apparently. Shazad says, thanks for the update. You're very welcome. Wakaz, good to see you. Stud, good to see you. Good to see a bunch of you. Adrian, good to see you as well, buddy. So let's see what it is. What do you guys think it is? Drop it in the comments. Do you think they're just going to reiterate what happened with CZ? Do you think they're going to do something a bit more stricter? It could be a very, very interesting moment here in the US landscape in terms of how they're going to enforce crypto, right? What are they going to do? Because, let's face it, up until now, I think it's been super unfair how the US has been treating crypto. I'm sure you guys feel the same, right? They're just enforcing through regulation. We saw what they've done with Coinbase. We saw what they've done with Binance. And now they're Kraken as well. They're saying, come and register with us, but at the same time, they're not providing any clear path to regulation, which is insane. I know this just in terms of how much I'm involved with crypto, let alone the biggest exchanges in the world. They're sitting there going, just give us some regulation. Tell us what we need to do. We're willing to do it, okay? JP thinks, I think it's an announcement for crypto regulation. Digital D, thanks for going live, Ijaz. Always appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much, Digital D. Appreciate you. JP thinks if it is regulation, it would start a massive bull run for crypto. And I think that's a really important point you make there, JP. I've made a few videos here in terms of, regulation and what it means for crypto. Naturally, regulation means a step back, but it's for a bigger, greater good step forward, right? If you look at the proliferation of, let's say, cars, when cars became a big thing, they only really started to become really, really popular when there was road safety laws, where there was traffic lights, where there was junctions and stop signs and all the rest of it. So once you have infrastructure, once you have regulation in place, it really allows that mainstream adoption. And if that's what we want as crypto investors, right? If we really want mainstream adoption to help grow the space and grow the industry, then we're going to have to accept that these things need to be in place, right? There will be adherence to all the same rules as traditional finance has to adhere to. There has to be the same games being played, political games, lobbying, all that sort of stuff, adhering to the regulation as well. That's all got to be the same. If that's what we want. If we don't want mass adoption, then fine. We can keep the crypto market cap to what it currently is, 1.3 trillion, and we won't go anywhere. But if you want a spot ETF, if you want regulation, if you want US institutions to get involved, then you're going to have to adhere to the rules. And I know it's painful. I know it's horrible. But that's just how it goes, right? If we want regulation, we're going to have to play that game. So Bitcoin, interestingly, guys, very, very interestingly, managing to show tremendous strength here, which is really, really impressive. I'm just refreshing the feed, nothing yet. So if you guys do get anything yet, then do let me know. It's on the justice.gov website if any of you guys want to turn it on separately as well. And I'm just going to refresh. Obviously, US are never on time because, that's the state of the US at the moment, but I'll keep refreshing anyway. Let's also take a look at the dollar index. Interesting to see dollar index taking a little bit of a climb here today, trying to bounce from a support level. But remember, we've got to send this to the downside. Really important that we can send this dollar index powerfully here to the downside. That can keep up our momentum on crypto. But right now, the focus is on the US. And remember, the other thing is, look, I know a lot of people just say, oh, US is just one market. Why are we so bothered? We've got Asia, we've got Europe, we've got all these other places. It's just the reality of the world, guys. The US are still the superior in terms of the financial industry. And if crypto wants to disrupt the financial industry, they're not going to do so without disrupting the US. It's just a fact of how it goes, right? So we're sitting here, rising, broadening wedge. If you guys are trading, be very, very careful out there. I was going to take a new trade with our VIP members, but I pulled the plug on it as I saw the news started to come out, and we didn't take that trade. So naturally, the markets are going to be painful. Trades are going to be in pain right now, but that's the aim of the game, right? If we do get a pullback, I'll be looking to snipe some new positions from areas of support. So where I see the price starting to bounce, that's where I'll be looking to take some more longs. Right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Escape the Matrix says, BS, Bitcoin does not need regulation. Regulation will have to give up to Bitcoin and freedom and the Fed. Well, look, if that's how you see it, then that's fine. But then you've got to accept that crypto is going to stay a very small niche thing. Right, which is fine. You can want that. If you want crypto to just be this thing that hackers and indies and the rebels everybody uses, that's fine. It can be, but there's going to be certain cryptos that do that. But other cryptos, and clearly Bitcoin's one of them, is not going down that route. Bitcoin's going down the route of a spot ETF. It's already got its futures ETF. It's going down the path of regulation. Right. If you want to play it the other way, you can get your MetaMask. You can jump onto Uniswap. You can use Tornado Cash. You can use privacy coins like Monero, and off you go. Right. You can live that life in the crypto world. That's there for you. But the other side of it, there is the mass adoption route as well. Pity Huff says, is there a situation where projects only on Binance the chain could have a doomsday? Binance the exchange and the ecosystem are two different things. Yeah, they're different. I mean, you got to remember that the Binance Smart Chain runs pretty much separately to the exchange. So this is more of an exchange related issue in terms of practicality of running the exchange, the day to day, the fact they're losing CZ at the helm, who's going to make the decisions, right? Just like any other business. If Amazon lost Jeff Bezos, it's a problem, right? If when Steve Jobs left Apple, it's a problem. If Elon Musk was to leave Tesla, it'll be a problem. And that's what Binance now have to face. They've lost their CEO overnight. So it'll be frantic. It'll be painful for the company to scramble to try figure things out. But we've got to see, how do they figure it out? Are they able to figure it out? And are they able to come up with, solutions and continue to steer the ship going into what we hope is going to be a powerful halving year? So what bad timing for CZ to have to step down as CEO, but also, in terms of day to day, what's his involvement, right? Who's the next CEO going to be? What's his relationship going to be? Can he still sit in on board meetings? Can he still have strategic input? Seems like from what I'm reading, he won't be able to. But again, he's still, a major shareholder. So how does that reconcile? Escape the Matrix says crypto is a naturally growing and adoption growing faster each halving. Yeah, but it's growing because of the things I'm saying, because of more regulation, because of more on-ramps. Without that, it wouldn't be growing. The extra money flowing into crypto, like we've just seen here over the last couple of weeks, is because of excitement of the spot ETF and because of the excitement that institutions have a clean way to on-ramp into crypto. Guys, have you seen the press conference start yet? It's not starting here on my side. I've refreshed again, not seeing anything in terms of the press conference. If somebody from the community can check as well, it's on justice.gov website, have a search for it, let me know if you see it starting and I'll pull it up here for everybody. Waka says hopefully we don't have an issue with deposits in Binance. Predict today closing daily candle price. Yeah, I mean, look, that's also going to be a fear, right? Like, naturally, when you get these kinds of pieces of news, you do get a run on exchanges. So my message to everybody, and I always say this, is you've got to stay diversified across your exchanges. The majority of yours should be in cold storage. It should be sat on some sort of at least a cold wallet, which is an online software wallet. A cold wallet, which is your physical like USB device, or at the very least a hot wallet, right? Which is like an online, a software wallet, like a MetaMask or something, right? Just to make sure you're not directly exposed to Binance. Now, do I think Binance are trading insolvent? Do I think they have all the custom deposits? I think they do. My gut instinct says they do, but you never know, guys. And you don't want to go off your gut instinct. If your life savings are sat in on crypto, you're better safe than sorry. So if you're not sure, you're worried, get it off the exchanges, get it onto some hard, safe storage, and you're better not, it's better that you take the effort to do that than to cry if something does happen. All right, guys, so I can't see this again, still in a press conference. What is wrong with the Department of Justice? Yep, not very tardy, are they? Let's take a look. Nothing. Supposed to be on 7 minutes ago, but I don't see anything. Nope, still nothing. All right, let's take a look. What else do we have on CoinDesk? Is anything else coming up in terms of this news? Okay, here we go. We got some news. After CZ quits as Binance CEO, Richard Teng looks like their heir apparent. Remember, we heard this in terms of the US situation as well. One-time Abu Dhabi regulator Teng was appointed to oversee Binance's regional markets outside the US back in June of this year. Yes, that's when we covered it. News that Binance CZ is stepping down after pleading guilty to US criminal charges. Remember, guys, criminal charges will normally mean a full case and potentially even jail time, which is pretty insane. Puts the spotlight firmly on rising star Richard Teng, who was promoted to the top ranks at the exchange early this year, and who is viewed as the heir apparent. Murad just said that they said it's 15 minutes delayed. Okay, so that'll be another 5 or 6 minutes here. We'll check in on that. Thank you very much for that, Murad. Teng, a one-time Abu Dhabi regulator, was appointed to oversee Binance's regional markets outside the US in June of this year. At that time, he gave an interview to CoinDesk, pointed out that he wanted to show that Binance could be a new organization. And what's interesting is we covered this at the time earlier in the year, and I said at the time that it looked like CZ was grooming Richard Teng to take over. So again, this hasn't come as too much of a surprise. CZ probably knew that he had to hang on for the most of this year, but he knew he had to bring in somebody else because there's too many cases against him. There's too much evidence pretty much stacked up against him that he had to step down and pay his fine. So he obviously seen what the DOJ has against him, and he's obviously gone, you know what, I don't want that smoke. I'll pay the fine, I'll step down, I'll let Binance live to fight another day, and I'll get Richard Teng to step in at that level. Binance representatives did not respond to requests for confirmation that Teng would be taking over as CEO. Teng's strength is regulation and compliance. Again, that's the phase that Binance needs to go through right now. Whether it's Binance, whether it's Coinbase, particularly these two exchanges, the biggest ones which are getting targeted by the regulators, they have to go for a couple of years of being very compliant. They have to tick every box. They got to cross every T, dot every I, and make sure they adhere to the letter of the law. If they want to be the world's biggest exchanges, and if they want to, be at the pinnacle for this market, not just when crypto's a $3 trillion industry, but when it's a $10 trillion industry, they're going to have to get in line now and put in all this work now. Before heading up the Financial Services Regulatory Authority Abu Dhabi, he was Chief Regulatory Officer of the Singapore Exchange and spent 13 years with the Monetary Authority of Singapore as well. The need for someone with Teng's expertise at Binance has become even more apparent as regulatory scrutiny has intensified this year, leading to Tuesday's explosive news that the US charged the exchange with breaking sanctions and money transmitting laws and agreed to pay $4.3 billion to settle the allegations. So again, I think one of the reasons markets are taking this in a positive light is because we've got clarity. Remember, investors want clarity. One thing investors and traders don't like is uncertainty. If we can get clarity instead of having this cloud over our head, markets take that as a positive net because they go, okay, we can calculate the risk. Oh, it's 4 billion to Binance. CZ steps down. Another CEO comes in, which isn't the end of the world. We've seen it in the stock market happen time and time again, where major CEOs step down, a new one pops in. I mean, look famously with ChatGPT, Sam Altman getting kicked off the board, right? That's happened over the last couple of days as well, let alone with a crypto exchange. And this is something we've seen happen in markets. It's a normal phenomena within large organizations. And markets probably looking at it and going, you know what? That's better than us not knowing what was going on, the unknown. At least they can now price it in accordingly. And it seems like that's what markets are trying to do here, given the news. Let's also jump back on to see what they had to say. It's worth noting that CZ himself said the firm had a succession plan when he hired Teng in August 2021. I remember covering this. Teng initially joined Binance as CEO of the Singapore business and quickly rose through the ranks during a turbulent period in the digital assets sector. It's good. It looks like, this is what we got to watch, right? This is the bit we have to kind of watch and understand is, do they actually have a succession plan? Is it clean? Is it easy for them to execute? Or are they just trying to figure it out in a panic, right? Because if it is clear they had been grooming Teng to take over the reins and they knew this day was eventually going to come and CZ's days were numbered against him, then it should be quite smooth. If it's not, and we see it very erratic over the next kind of couple of days and weeks, then we're going to know that this was not part of the plan. They got rattled. They've got some information against CZ. CZ wanted to settle to protect Binance, and then we move on from there. Okay, so that's where we're sat in terms of that. But again, I just find it crazy. Like, if this news was in a bear market, like, we would have tanked a lot. Guys, we're talking a 1.6% down day. I mean, 5 days ago, we had a 4.5% down day. I mean, it's a bit weird. It's almost like what's going on is why are markets not too upset about this? What is it that people know? And I think part of it is people want their bags. They want it locked and loaded. They're not falling for this final bit of FUD heading into the halving year and heading into the next bull cycle. They're like, you know what? We are not giving up our Bitcoin that cheaply. If you're BlackRock, if you're an institution and you want to pry the Bitcoins out of our hands, you're going to have to do better than forcing CZ to resign, right? All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. And guys, do let me know if this press conference starts. I'm refreshing here, but there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Useless American Department of Justice. So busy that they can't even sort out their live streams and start on time. Skip the Matrix says the institutions want Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't care if they do or not. $10 million priced in without regulation or the Fed. Okay, mate. I mean, I disagree with that. You're not just going to get to $10 million on Bitcoin without major inflows of money. I mean, you've got to do the maths on it. I implore you to do the maths on it. Pity Huff, be good to see more exchanges pop up and more diversified landscapes of centralized exchanges. Completely agree. I've made this video time and time again where I say two things. We need two things in this crypto space. We have two major black swan events that can happen in crypto. One, the collapsing of Binance, which is by far the biggest exchange in the world, and number two, the collapse of USDT, Tether, which is by far the biggest stablecoin in the world. The number twos are so far behind that we need more competition. We need more healthy competition, particularly after the collapse of FTX as well. There's no exchange. I mean, you've got Binance and you've got Coinbase a far second. We need, a couple of really big exchanges. That way we're spreading our risk. It's not comfortable that the majority of people investing in crypto are sat in on Binance. It's a risk, right? And same for USDT. Those are the two main risks in crypto, which always has me a little bit nervous, which is why I always say to people, diversify. Do not be sat in with all your life savings on one altcoin. Definitely don't have it in one stablecoin, and definitely don't have it in one exchange either. Studfly says, Binance still safe for our assets in your opinion? Like I said, I covered this off before. I don't swear by any exchange. I achieve nothing by doing that. If I say, yeah, it's safe, like, what do I like? There's no benefit to be had from that. If you have serious life savings on exchange, get it off, get it into cold storage, or at least hot storage, right? Which is a hot wallet separate from the exchange. But get it off the exchange, not your keys, not your coin. I know you guys have heard that before, but it's important. It takes a little bit of work, but it's important to do that and get that set up. It'll give you peace of mind once you have done that. Zan said, this is actually bullish in my opinion, as ETFs couldn't get approved until all this BS around Binance is done. I agree. I feel like these kind of things, wrapping up the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, wrapping up the CZ and Binance situation, are probably some of the stipulation that the old guard have said you have to do, right? Maybe BlackRock has said, sort this stuff out, let's get it done, then approve our ETF, and then off we go, right? And in doing so, you crash the market, we'll buy in cheap, and then we'll ride the next cycle up. So it definitely is like one of those kind of defining moments for crypto today. Definitely a big bit of news, which of course has shocked markets throughout. Hadi said, are you bullish or bearish? I'm still bullish. I'm bearish short term. I mean, I expect to pull back anyway. I was bearish anyway. If you saw my video yesterday, look, I expect to pull back. I think this move is very, very overextended with the CZ news, and we'll listen to what the press conference has to say today as well. Naturally, I expect it to shock markets a little bit, but guys, just look how it's absorbing these shocks. I mean, we've had terrible collapses in crypto, and this is just showing really good strength here by Bitcoin. I mean, it almost wants to just get back to 37K as we're speaking. But again, let's hold fire until we hear what the press conference has to say as well. Has it started yet, guys? Has anybody seen it start? I can't see it on my stream here, and I'm on the official website. Nope, useless. Department of Justice, useless. Alex Child says, what can cause USDT to go bad? I've done plenty of videos in this in the past. Do go search some of my videos on the channel. But in essence, you got to remember, stablecoin is only as good as the backings, right? And USDT say, yes, we're one-to-one reserved. But you got to remember, they do invest your money. They put your money in different places, in commercial paper, in notes. Yes, they're liquid, but they actually go and invest it in other places, and that creates a bit of inherent risk. But they've got a bit better. They have got a bit better. They've definitely kind of survived for a lot of FUD. But at the end of the day, if it's not completely backed one-to-one in cash, there's always a risk element in there. Michael Thompson says, killing it with the shirt. Nice one, man. Waka says, yes, he's got a no, come on, leave me alone, guys. Stop bullying me. And Swing Trade Brigade, nice name, I like that. Swing Trade Brigade. When Bitcoin is bullish, negative news does not affect the price. Absolutely. This is one of the telltale signs you're in a very bullish market, is when you get negative news and yet the price doesn't want to go down. And similarly for a bear market, you get positive news and the price don't want to go up. Right, we had that through the bear market, and now we're getting upwards moves just, of very little, just little FOMO and hype and excitement, and we're seeing the markets run to the upside, and we're getting a big deal like CZ stepping down, the biggest exchange in the world, and markets like, hang on, we're only having 1.25% down here today. I mean, look at the hourly chart here. I mean, it got upset, and then it's kind of just like chilling and trying to find its way. It's already trying to bounce it. It's incredible strength. But again, I want to wait. I just want to watch this press conference just to see. What is it? They say they look like they're delaying it, guys, to 3:30 now. So it looks like I'm with you for another 10 minutes until this starts. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat whilst we chill for 10 minutes. Instead of me ending the stream and then starting again, why don't we just carry on? Ask me some questions about crypto or whatever it is you fancy, to be honest. We can cover it off. Have I researched any other stable coins recently? I've done a good breakdown of this. I've pretty much broken down all the key stable coins. Search my channel, stable coins, my name, and go watch that video, Pity. You'll like that. Murat says, we have 13 minutes, the update time, if you refresh the conference webpage. Yeah, it says 3:30, but then are they going to delay it again? So it looks like I've got 10 minutes or so. Smart Fastbard to tell about yourself briefly. You guys know about me. I'm just a investor, trader. Initially built my wealth through a software company and entrepreneurship. So yeah, a lot of stuff. Go check out my other channel, by the way. I do have another channel. If you type in Ijaz1 instead of Ijaz Crypto, it's a smaller channel. I think we're less than 1,000 subs there. Go subscribe over there as well. I post more like entrepreneurial content. This is just the crypto channel. And whilst you're at it, click the link at the top in the pinned comment and jump into our Telegram. If you're not in our Telegram, I know the majority of you in the chat that I can see are in the Telegram, but for the rest of you guys watching, jump into our Telegram. We have trade alerts, we have signals, we do all kinds in there, loads of alpha, fundamental and technical as well. So if you guys want to become crypto traders, make sure you're in our Telegram. Other than that, make sure you smash the lights, guys. A bunch of you here. We are waiting for the Department of Justice press conference, which is scheduled to start in 10 minutes. CZ, for those who are just tuning in, has stepped down as the CEO of Binance. He has to pay a $50 million fine personally. He could be susceptible to criminal charges. $4.3 million fine to be settled by Binance to settle the accusations with the US Department of Justice. We're waiting the press conference to hear if there's details of this or if there's something else which we don't know about, because it's quite an ominous title for this press conference, right? They've named it the following: Justice Department and partners to announce significant cryptocurrency enforcement actions. It will be the CZ story, but is there some more details which we don't know about? Because currently what I'm led to believe, and we just broke this down if you rewind to the beginning of this video, that CZ will have to step down. He's not allowed to be involved in the operations and the running of Binance for at least 3 years. But that ban can end after 3 years. So if Binance appoint the monitor, the compliance monitor, which they have to, by the way, and do that for a period of 3 years, once that comes to an end, CZ's ban ends, and he could theoretically take the reins back again of Binance in 3 to 4 years, which is very, very interesting. No Signal says free CZ. Escape the Matrix says Casper, Phantom, Pepe, Dag, 250 each. What are your thoughts? Okay. Do you think the revisited SEC securities claim is going to put the brakes on Solana and the like? Yeah, I think it's a bit of a concern, right? I mean, I've famously said in a couple of my videos recently that the only altcoin with true kind of clarity is XRP. It's the only one which has actually had a judge rule over it. So all of these others, whether it's ADA, whether it's Solana, Phantom, or the rest of it, we don't really know where we stand, right? We don't really know where we stand. I think ETH caught a pump yesterday because it wasn't listed in the SEC kind of case against Kraken as an example. But still, that doesn't really provide it clarity, right? It just means they didn't mention them in the case. Yukiko Tan says back to 37k for Bitcoin. Let's take a look. Yep, back above 30. There you go. Crazy strength, very incredible strength to just be down 1% on such crazy news that CZ has quit. I mean, it's insane. We will be, for those just joining, guys, do smash up the likes. We will be covering the live press conference by the Department of Justice in the next 7 or 8 minutes. So get me on your TV, get me on your iPad or your mobile. Pop me in your ears if you like using headphones, and we'll cover that off together. We'll listen to what these Muppets have to say in the US, because it's frustrating. It's frustrating. We're just, look at the timing of when they do this stuff as well. Like, they purposely do it when crypto's catching a pump, people are feeling good. Oh, what can we do? Let's go and force CZ into a corner and get him to settle, right? Incredible. I mean, they just really hate crypto. They just hate it. But it makes sense, right? If you actually think about it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, let's think about this, right? So when Uber disrupted the taxi companies, it was a big deal, right? If you follow the Uber story, particularly here in London, the taxi guard are such a big establishment in the UK. Same in the US, right? There's loads of kind of embedded history and unions involved in the taxi industry that it's hard to disrupt them. They don't want some tech guy coming in and taking all their business from hundreds of years of work, right? Imagine the financial industry. Crypto's trying to disrupt the financial industry. Do you think the likes of these big players are just going to let crypto walk in and kind of just, through the front door and just get greeted with an orange juice and say, yeah, take a seat on the sofa? No, it's going to have to go through hell and back in order to disrupt. But any great technology can and will survive through that. And these are defining moments for crypto. But again, crypto's been through stuff like this. It's been through worse. It's been through the Mt. Gox collapse. It's been through Terra Luna. It's been through FTX. It's been through so many difficult moments. It's been through countries banning it. So just another string in the bow of in the string of another what? Another string in the bow of Bitcoin and crypto. Harshid says US playing the long game, pushing price discovery onshore with Binance under and ETFs approved, hence holding the technology under control away from competitors. Very important point. Whenever the US decide to accept something, some technology or whatever it is they want to do, they make sure they do so when they figure out how to get a piece of the pie. When they can control it, when they can get a piece of the pie, they're all for something. But if they cannot get control of the pie, they hate that thing and they attack that thing. Look at TikTok, which was controlled by China, right? The US gave TikTok such a big problem, right? Putting them through hearings and hearings and hearings and then banning them, right? All because they couldn't control it. They couldn't get a piece of the pie. They couldn't control it. They didn't feel like they had the control of it. And so they had to then limit it. Whereas with crypto, it's the same thing. If they can control it, if they can control the ETFs, if they can control the exchanges, if they've got a say and they know how to monetize it, they'll let it run. As long as they're getting the disproportionate piece of the pie. And when they do have it, then they'll let it run. Thoughts on Kraken and how they are taking on the SEC? I mean, again, what can these exchanges do? It's such a, like, if you're an exchange and you've been trying to operate by the law. I mean, we always use the example of Coinbase, right? Following all the rules and trying to do their best. They're publicly listed on the NASDAQ. And yet for the SEC to knock on the door and say, no, you didn't come in and just get yourself regulatory approved, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Like, you can't not have a rule. You can't have gray areas and then blame entrepreneurs or companies for not adhering to the rules. There is no clear process. You refuse to tell them a clear process. And that's the same for Kraken as well. Like, we can see the response that Kraken had as well through what they tweeted back out. It's the same thing, right? There was no clear route to come in and register with the SEC as a crypto exchange. So therefore, you can't just come out when you had no route for licensing to say, oh, you're operating an unregistered exchange, right? That's not fair. That's you just being enforcing through regulation, which is not okay. 4 minutes away from DOJ. Do drop any questions you guys have. I'm really kind of excited / nervous to hear what comes from this. Hopefully they just reiterate kind of what we know, which is the $4.3 billion settlement, CZ stepping down as CEO. Hopefully there's no hidden Easter eggs in there which can dump this market in the next couple of minutes. We will be covering it off live, guys. Don't forget to smash the likes. Bunch of you have not hit the like, man. Come on, guys. What you talking? Hit up the likes, man. Hit up the likes. Yeah, so Pity says exactly what are they supposed to do? They already settled once with them. Important to understand, the first settlement was around the staking service, right? So that's where Kraken was offering a staking service. SEC says that was not good. Give us $30 million or whatever it was. They settled that. This is now, the same kind of level of accusation as Binance and Coinbase, which is that you're operating an unlicensed security exchange. Okay, so that's what that is. Ijaz, where in London are you from? No Signal said the hood. Yeah, man, from the hood, bro. Raised in the hood. And I wouldn't change it. Nice and streetwise. That's how it should be. Phantom down 6.5%. Painful day for Phantom here, coming down to its... Yeah, not fun. Not fun there on Phantom and the daily charts, just a retest, so we're not too concerned. And again, look. People were chasing green candles. I'm not going to tell you when to buy, but people were chasing green candles up here. And you should really be getting a habit of catching it in there, right? Common sense. So much FOMO at the top and then so much fear here that nobody wants to buy. And that's what you've got to learn to do. When I say buy from positions of strength, these are positions of strength, right? This shows, when you buy in this kind of a situation, this shows that you had the conviction that on a red day, you pulled the trigger and bought. This day, anybody can buy. A 2-year-old can buy there because the candlestick is fully green all the way to here, up to 38 cents, and you're FOMOing in, right? Nothing exciting about that. Chris Locke, do you think BYBIT will reverse its UK residence ban at some point? No. The UK is really horrible right now for exchanges. The FCA, which is this SEC equivalent here in terms of Financial Conduct Authority, are really strict. I mean, really, really strict. So do not be surprised to see exchanges continue to find it difficult to operate in the UK and for UK residents to find it difficult to on-ramp into crypto. I know Binance is struggling. I know BYBIT is struggling. I know BitGet has now been required to do KYC as well. People don't want this kind of smoke. So exchanges will now proactively go and make sure they've got their KYC in place, they've got their AML in place, because they do not want the smoke that, Binance is going through right now. So it's going to become harder for us to on-ramp. That's the whole point around choke point. The other thing you're seeing become very, very difficult is banks are becoming really prohibitive, right? You saw JP Morgan here in the UK said, if you want to put your money in crypto, we're not going to allow you. It's like, what? That's our money. What do you mean I can't put it into a crypto exchange? I can spend it on OnlyFans. I can spend it in a casino. I can spend it gambling. I can buy extortionate, prime energy bottles from Logan, Jake Paul, or KSI, or whoever's selling those right now. But I can't invest in crypto and try to build financial freedom. I mean, insane. But it just goes to show fiat currency is not yours, guys. If you think that's yours, it's not yours. Fiat currency is not yours. If it is yours, go try to withdraw $1 million from the bank right now. You can't. They're going to ask you a million questions. They're going to say, oh, can you take it in chunks of this? Oh, can you come and get it in 2 weeks' time? What do you mean? It's my money. Just give it to me. It's because they don't have your money sat there. When you deposit $1 million into a bank, they go and they loan that out 10 times at 10% interest rate, right? To people who can't afford to pay their bills. So your money's not sat there. So when you ask for your money back, that's why they panic, which is why we have to take control of our own money. Very, very important. Pete says, Bollinger Bands have been my best friend. Thanks for teaching us. Yes, guys, Ijaz UK/TA. If you're interested in learning TA, whether it's head and shoulders pattern, whether it's the cup and handle pattern, whether it's doji candlesticks, whether it's a dragonfly candle, whether it's a bullish engulfing candle, whether it's divergence, whether it's all these things, if you just want it in one structured curriculum, all in one place, Ijaz UK/TA. Make sure you learn your TA. Very, very important. Felix says, can't even withdraw fines to buy used cars spontaneously. Yes, it's very difficult. But that does remind you of a very important point, that when crypto becomes easy, it will become expensive. Very important. You know, all the things we struggle with crypto, whether it's, FTX, whether it's Terra Luna, whether it's, today CZ, whether it's the struggles with onboarding and KYC and AMM and not knowing how to set up a MetaMask, and it's so difficult to set up a cold wallet. In the future, when you fast forward, all of that's going to be really easy. You're going to have regulated exchanges. It's going to be connected into your bank account. You're going to jump in. You're going to have your wallet there. It's going to be a couple of clicks and you're buying everything easy on board, easy off board, straight back into fiat. It's all going to be smooth. Everybody's going to know how to have a MetaMask set up. But guess what? By the time that comes along, everything is going to be expensive. Right? Everything's going to become expensive because at that point you're at mass adoption. So the reason we're struggling now is because we're early adopters. But in doing so, that's where we're going to get the alpha. That's where we're going to get the return on investment, because we're willing to put in the work, go press the extra 10 clicks or spend the extra 10 minutes to withdraw when other people aren't. And that's why when you speak to your normal friends who aren't into crypto, that's the reason they're not into crypto. One day they will all be using crypto, but by the time they do that, the market will be at a peak, it'll be at mass adoption, and the gains will be very few and far between, and you'll now be in a mature market. Okay? So at that point, the whole game changes. Guys, they're having a laugh here, man. Where's this press conference? Watch them change it again. If they change it again, we'll just sack it off. 3:30 it says. Check this out, guys. They can't follow their own time. Useless. How long do they need to explain to us that CZ is stepping down? Or do they just want to keep us in suspense, hoping that the crypto prices fall? You will not crash crypto. You do not have the facilities for that. Crypto is here to stay. All right, guys, just a reminder to smash up the likes. Please do smash up the likes. We'll give it another 5 or 6 minutes or so to see if they do stream this live. Again, if they don't and they end up doing it later, you'll be able to see it on the justice.gov website, the US government website for the Department of Justice. Apparently, they're going to be streaming it there, but can't see anything yet, guys. Cannot see anything yet. Still waiting for it. What else? Any news? Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's have a read of this while we're waiting. Binance got huge due to US customers. That was illegal, US says. Charging documents until Tuesday against crypto exchange and co-founder CZ details years of compliance failures and obfuscation in the name of protecting Binance's most valuable and off-limits users. Binance relied in its early days on American customers for the bulk of its revenue, its trading activity, and thus its status as the world's largest crypto exchange. Charging documents unsealed Tuesday against the exchange and its founder CZ detail years of compliance failures and obfuscation in the name of protecting their most valuable users. But Binance wasn't allowed to service those customers because it wasn't a registered US business, according to the government. Binance targeted growth in the US market, especially amongst VIP users who drove the exchange's trading volume and thus its revenue. These power users and their liquidity helped make Binance a juggernaut in crypto trading. As much as 30% of exchange web traffic and just as much revenue originated in the US in early 2018, the filing said. When CZ learned about this, he said Binance should block IP addresses and implement know your customer requirements because it's better than losing everything. In spite of this, CZ and Binance scribbled away their most valuable US users for an API that allowed them to keep using the main exchange, according to the government. I'd love to see evidence around this. I mean, this would be phenomenal if they did that. So what they're basically saying is, look, they weren't allowed to target US users, but because the US users were so valuable, they created them a separate IP address where they could funnel them along to a separate place where they could carry on trading with Binance, or maybe using some sort of VPN or something as well. This came even as Binance launched a separate US exchange that implemented KYC. In June 2019, CZ and other high-ranking financial officials encouraged the high-value US clients to conceal and obfuscate their US connections. Very interesting. See, look, here, the Binance officials discussed these strategies on recorded calls and directed staff to assist these customers in compliance evasion, like dropping hints that they could use a different IP address. So maybe they dropped a hint like, check out a VPN or do something like that, and that's going to land them in trouble, right? Because they can't go and tell their US clients, yeah, don't worry, you're not allowed to use us, but if you try this VPN or use this IP address, we won't know any different and you'll be able to use it. By September 2020, some 16% of the main exchange's customer base... Oh, look, guys, we're live. We can hear some activity. So we'll do that. By 2020, some of 16% of main exchange's customer base came from the US, making it Binance's most important country despite its prohibitions. All right, let's see what they have to say, guys. They're not saying anything yet, but I've got the volume switched up, so let's see.
I'm joined today by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and CFTC Chairman Russ Benham. We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, and from its founder and CEO, Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ. Separate from the criminal enforcement actions, the Justice Department is announcing today Secretary Yellen and Chairman Benham will also announce civil regulatory enforcement actions and the Treasury Department that the Treasury Department and the CFTC are taking against Binance. While criminal and civil enforcement actions are subject to different legal standards, this collective effort represents the whole of government approach that we are taking to combat corporate crime. Binance has agreed to plead guilty to willfully violating the Bank Secrecy Act, knowingly failing to register as a money transmitting business, and willfully violating the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. These laws ensure that our financial institutions are not available to designated terrorist organizations, drug traffickers, and sanctioned nation states that threaten public safety and our national security. The Justice Department is requiring Binance to pay $4.3 billion in penalties and forfeitures. This is one of the largest penalties we have ever obtained from a corporate defendant in a criminal matter. The Justice Department is also imposing a monitorship as well as reporting requirements on Binance as part of today's resolution. Moving forward, Binance must file the suspicious activity reports that were required by law. The company is required to review past transactions and report suspicious activity to federal authorities. This will advance our criminal investigations into malicious cyber activity and terrorism fundraising, including the use of cryptocurrency exchanges to support groups such as Hamas. While this historic plea is an important measure of accountability, we know that corporations only act to the individuals who run them. That is why we have also filed a felony charge against and secured a guilty plea from Changpeng Zhao for willfully violating the Bank Secrecy Act. As CEO of Binance, Zhao willfully violated federal law that requires financial institutions to guard against money laundering and terrorist financing. Zhao, who resides outside of the United States, entered his plea in person in the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington earlier today. In August 2017, Zhao founded Binance as a platform where users could trade in cryptocurrency. But from the very beginning, Zhao and other Binance executives engaged in a deliberate and calculated effort to profit from the U.S. market without implementing the controls that are required by U.S. law. Zhao and Binance attracted and built a substantial U.S. customer base. Almost 2 years after Binance's founding, Zhao told senior management that the U.S. market represented 20 to 30% of the company's potential revenue. Serving these U.S. customers meant that Binance was a U.S. financial institution. U.S. financial institutions must comply with U.S. law. Zhao and other senior management at Binance understood this. They understood that the company was required by U.S. law to register with the Treasury Department as a money services business. And they understood that they were required by U.S. law to implement an effective anti-money laundering program. They failed to do either. Instead, they concluded that complying with U.S. law would stifle their efforts to grow Binance's profits, market share, and trading volume. So, rather than comply, Binance facilitated billions of dollars of unregulated cryptocurrency transactions. It willfully enabled hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions between American users and users subject to U.S. sanctions. And its platform accommodated criminals across the world who use Binance to move their stolen funds and other criminal proceeds. Binance prioritized its profits over the safety of the American people. In part because of the crimes it committed, Binance became the largest cryptocurrency exchange
Bitcoin trying to break out here on the minute chart, breaking now.
Binance is paying one of the largest corporate penalties in U.S. history. Binance employees knew and discussed that the company was serving thousands of users in sanctioned countries. And they knew that facilitating transactions between U.S. users and users in sanctioned countries would be in violation of U.S. law. But they did it anyway. Binance enabled nearly $900 million in transactions between U.S. and Iranian users. And it facilitated millions of dollars in transactions between U.S. users and users in Syria and in the Russian-occupied Ukrainian regions of Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk. Binance's own compliance personnel also knew that the company's anti-money laundering procedures were inadequate.
You can do what you want, but if you play around with their geopolitical games, they'll come after you.
In a February 2019 chat, one compliance employee wrote that they needed a banner that said, quote, "Is washing drug money too hard these days? Come to Binance. We got cake for you." By failing to comply
so far, guys, Bitcoin's acting strong here because there's no new news. It's just stuff we already knew before this, so that's good. But if he says anything new, we get a bit of a problem.
On its exchanges. For example, between August 2017 and April 2022, there were direct transfers of approximately 106 million in Bitcoin to Binance.com wallets from Hydra. Hydra was a popular Russian darknet marketplace, frequently utilized by criminals, that facilitated the sale of illegal goods and services. Binance only stopped processing Hydra transactions in April of 2022, when the Justice Department and our criminal law enforcement partners seized control of the Hydra marketplace and shut it down. From February 2018 to May 2019, Binance processed more than $275 million in deposits and $273 million in withdrawals from Best Mixer. Best Mixer was one of the largest cryptocurrency anonymizing services in the world before it was shut down for money laundering. Binance also did more than just fail to comply with federal law. It pretended to comply. In June 2019, Binance publicly announced that it would block U.S. users from Binance.com and launch a separate U.S. exchange. That exchange, Binance.us, would register with the Treasury Department and serve the U.S. market. Binance blocked some U.S. users on Binance.com and redirected them to the U.S. exchange. At the same time, however, Binance continued to allow some of its most important high-volume U.S. users to remain on the unregistered Binance.com exchange. At the direction of Zhao and other senior leaders at Binance, employees encouraged their high-volume U.S. users to conceal their U.S. connections, including by creating new accounts that obscured their locations. As Zhao himself said in a September 2019 chat, quote, "If we blocked U.S. users from day one, Binance will not be as big as we are today. We would also not have had any U.S. revenue we had for the last 2 years." He then added, quote, "Better to ask for forgiveness than permission," close quote. Over a year after Binance publicly announced that it was blocking U.S. users, an internal monthly company report attributed 16% of its total registered user base to the United States. That was more than any other country on the unregulated Binance.com platform. In the next monthly report, Binance removed the United States label and recategorized U.S. users with the label UNKWN, short for unknown. In October 2020, users labeled as UNKWN represented approximately 17% of Binance's registered user base. Binance and Zhao profited significantly from their violations of federal law. That they are facing accountability for their crimes is due to the extraordinary hard work of the extraordinary public servants at the Department of Justice. I want to thank the Criminal Division's Money Laundering and Asset Recovery Section, the National Security Division's Counterintelligence and Export Control Section, and the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Washington for their excellent work. I also want to thank Secretary Yellen and her team at the Treasury Department, including IRS Criminal Investigation, as well as CFTC Chairman Benham and his team for their extraordinary partnership in this matter. In just the past month, the Justice Department has successfully prosecuted the CEOs of 2 of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges in 2 separate criminal cases. The message here should be clear. Using new technology to break the law does not make you a disruptor. It makes you a criminal. This Justice Department has no tolerance for crimes that threaten our economic institutions and undermine public trust in the fairness of those institutions, and we will hold accountable the individuals who commit and profit from them. I'm now pleased to turn the podium over to Secretary Yellen.
Good afternoon. I'm very glad to join Attorney General Garland, Deputy Attorney General Monaco, and CFTC Chairman Benham on such an important occasion. We're here today to announce the Treasury Department's historic action, the largest enforcement action in Treasury's history against Binance, the world's largest virtual currency exchange, for its consistent and egregious violations of U.S. anti-money laundering and sanctions law. Protecting the U.S. financial system, and through that, the global financial system, is core to the Treasury Department's mission. And ever since Binance launched its convertible virtual currency platform, it has knowingly evaded the U.S. laws designed to protect these systems. Over more than 3 years, FinCEN, OFAC, and IRS criminal investigation thoroughly investigated key aspects of Binance's activities. Our work revealed that Binance claimed to have exited the U.S. market years ago, but actually did not, retaining U.S. users and other significant ties with the United States. It also had critical gaps in its anti-money laundering program and practices, from a lack of risk-based procedures for various offerings to instructing staff to withhold information from law enforcement. It deliberately undermined its own sanctions monitoring controls, and it failed to report suspicious transactions. This meant Binance was allowing illicit actors to transact freely, supporting activities from child sexual abuse to illegal narcotics to terrorism across more than 100,000 transactions. That includes transactions associated with terrorist groups like Hamas's Al-Qassam brigades, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS. Binance processed these transactions, but it never filed a single suspicious activity report, and it also allowed over 1.5 million virtual currency trades that violated U.S. sanctions. So we have taken the largest enforcement action in Treasury's history. FinCEN's settlement agreement assesses a penalty of $3.4 billion. OFAC's settlement agreement assesses a penalty of nearly $1 billion. Binance is also required to report the suspicious transactions it has failed to report to date and to establish an effective anti-money laundering program to support the global AML-CFT regime. And the settlement agreements subject Binance to increased scrutiny for 5 years through a third-party monitor overseen by FinCEN, who will ensure Binance's complete exit from the United States. The monitor will be able to access Binance's systems, transactions, and accounts, and will review.
Guys, forget Janet Yellen for a bit. Let's just cover off what CZ just had to say. I won't read the whole tweet. Today I stepped down as CEO of Binance. Admittedly, it was not easy to let go emotionally, but I know it's the right thing to do. I made mistakes and I must take responsibility. This is best for our community, for Binance, and for myself. Binance is no longer a baby. It's time for me to let it walk and run. I know Binance will continue to grow. I'm pleased to announce that Richard Teng, our now formal global head of regional markets, has now been named the new CEO. So we got that right, guys. Rich is a highly qualified leader and with 3 decades of financial services regulatory experience. With Richard and the entire team, I'm confident that the best days for Binance and the crypto industry lay ahead. As a shareholder and former CEO with historical knowledge of our company, I will remain available to the team to consult as needed. Very strong. Consistent with the framework set out in our US agency resolutions. What's next for me? I will take a break first. I've not had a single day off, phone off break for the last 6.5 years. After that, my current thinking is I'll probably do some passive investing, being a minority token or shareholder in startups in areas of blockchain, Web3, DeFi, and AI and biotech. I'm happy that I'll finally have more time to spend looking at DeFi. I can't see myself being a CEO driving a startup again. I'm content being a one-shot lucky entrepreneur. Should there be listeners, I may be open to being a coach or mentor to a small number of upcoming entrepreneurs privately. If for nothing else, I can at least tell them what not to do. On that note, I'm proud to point out that in our resolutions with the US agencies, they do not allege that Binance misappropriated the user funds. They do not allege that Binance engaged in any market manipulation. These are really important. Funds are SAFU. With that, I look forward to seeing the new leadership take the reins. Please join me in congratulating Rich on his well-deserved promotion. Nice message from CZ, and I'll switch back to old lady Yellen. But that's why markets should be feeling quite positive, because it's a nice message. It's controlled, no major appropriation issues, which is good. But again, it's, you know, we're at this point where Binance has graduated to a big company now, and it probably makes sense for them to have a more strategic head that can get these compliance issues sorted.
Today is a watershed moment. The Department of Justice and its partners are holding accountable the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange and the CEO who ran it for their criminal conduct. Binance vaulted to the top of the crypto market in part through the scheme exposed today by pursuing growth, market share, and profits at the expense of compliance with U.S. law. Today's charges and guilty pleas, combined with a more than $4 billion financial penalty, demonstrate the Justice Department's commitment to corporate accountability. And they send an unmistakable message to crypto and DeFi companies: if you serve U.S. customers, you must obey U.S. law. A corporate strategy that puts profits over compliance isn't a path to riches. It's a path to federal prosecution. As detailed in the statement of facts, Changpeng Zhao was warned by his own compliance team that Binance lacked basic safeguards to prevent users from evading U.S. sanctions. He was warned of the high risk associated with some customers on their exchange. He was even warned that the CFO of another company had been arrested for sanctions violations and that the same thing could happen at Binance. But rather than implement the basic anti-money laundering safeguards that his team recommended, safeguards required by U.S. law, Binance and its founder operated as though the rules didn't apply, as though they were beyond our reach. Crypto assets may be advertised as borderless in nature, but the Department of Justice will enforce U.S. law across and throughout crypto markets, even in their darkest corners. Some say the key to success in the tech sector is to move fast and break things. Today's actions show that if what you break is the law, there will be consequences. Over 5 years, while building its business with U.S. customers, Binance enabled nearly $1 billion in illegal payments involving
But what's the consequence? He's built the biggest exchange in the world. It's not that bad, is it?
These actions put our collective security at risk. Today, companies are increasingly operating on the front lines of the geopolitical and national security challenges that mark today's global environment. That's why the Justice Department is focused on the intersection of corporate crime and national security. Today, corporate crime undermines not only our markets and investors, but also our national security. The laws we are enforcing today were designed to protect the security of our financial markets and to protect our financial institutions from exploitation by terrorists and money launderers. Today's actions show that those rules apply equally to traditional financial institutions and those powered by decentralized and cutting-edge technologies. Today's resolutions are the result of and a credit to the combined energy and expertise of prosecutors and law enforcement agents from across the government. And in particular, I'd like to thank Nicole Argentieri, the Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division, who's here today, Matt Olson, the Assistant Attorney General for National Security, who's also here on stage, and Tessa Gorman, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Washington. They each lead teams who have worked tirelessly on this case. The partnership between the Criminal Division's money laundering and asset recovery experts and the National Security Division's export control and counterintelligence experts is a response to the growing convergence of white-collar and national security investigations. So we're combining our deep expertise from across the department to combat these new and evolving threats. Together with our partners, the Justice Department will hold accountable those who occupy the C-suite and the boardroom if they exploit technologies in violation of our laws. With that, I'll turn it over to Chairman Benham.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Attorney General Garland, Treasury Secretary Yellen, Deputy Attorney General Monaco, and all of our law enforcement counterparts. Today, the CFTC stands with the Department of Justice and the Treasury Department in protecting U.S. investors and financial markets from those who sought to create an empire through a calculated strategy of regulatory avoidance and arbitrage, outright defiance of the law, and breaching the fundamental principles of market behavior. Today, the CFTC agreed to resolve charges against Binance, its founder and CEO, Changpeng Zhao, and its former Chief Compliance Officer, Samuel Lim. Binance is the world's largest digital asset exchange and offers trading in spot digital assets and digital asset derivatives, including CFTC jurisdictional products such as Bitcoin futures, options, and swaps. The proposed orders impose a civil monetary penalty and disgorgement totaling $2.7 billion against Binance, $150 million civil monetary penalty against Zhao, and a $1.5 million penalty against Lim. Binance's activities undermine the foundation of safe and sound financial markets by intentionally avoiding basic, fundamental obligations that apply to exchanges, all the while collecting approximately $1.35 billion in trading fees from U.S. customers. Beyond the risks imposed on the U.S. financial system, Binance's activities impacted populations beyond investors in ways that cannot be measured in dollars and cents, as evidenced by the internal chats of.
Right, guys, while he's repeating himself there, let's take a quick look at this from Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase. I thought this was kind of odd, to be honest, from him. He's normally quite good with his rhetoric. I thought this was more of a told you so moment. He kind of used CZ's weak moment to kind of hit him one. Since the founding of Coinbase back in 2012, we have taken a long-term view. I knew we needed to embrace compliance to become a generational company that stood the test of time. We got the licenses, hired the compliance and legal teams, and made it clear our brand was about trust with our customers and following the rules. We wanted to increase transparency and raise the bar. I've said this exact same thing, right? That's what their blueprint was. If BYBIT and Binance was move fast and break things, which we just heard Janet Yellen say, or the other lady, say, then Coinbase was always the opposite, right? We wanted to be regulated. We want to be teacher's pet. I'd always say that in my videos, right? We want to be regulated. We want to be on the NASDAQ. We want to have US shareholders. We want to do things the right way. So he's kind of using this as a moment to say, we told you so. This is the right thing to do. This meant we couldn't move as quickly as others. It's more difficult and expensive to take a compliant approach. You can't launch every product that customers want when it's illegal, but it's the right approach because we believe in rule of law. Today's news reinforces that doing it the hard way was the right decision. We now have an opportunity to start a new chapter for this industry. We took a lot of hours operating here in the US due to the lack of regulatory clarity, and my hope is that today's news serves as a catalyst to finally achieve that. Americans should not have to go offshore unregulated exchange to benefit from this technology. This industry should be built right here in America in a compliant way under US law. We're going to stay here in the US because we believe in economic freedom, and the US democratic system will eventually get this right. Decentralization of crypto is a powerful tool to update the financial system and build a global economy with more economic freedom. We're just getting started. This has really ruffled my feathers a little bit here, because what this shows is Brian Armstrong was never about crypto. Brian Armstrong in this tweet here has just reiterated to us that he is just about focusing on US customers and being there for the US and making sure BlackRock put their money in there, making sure Fidelity used Coinbase for custody, and making sure that he can bring all that US dollar trading volume to Coinbase. That's all it's about for him. This is not about the adoption of crypto globally and caring about crypto and all the things he claims to. What this was all about was us versus you, US versus global, and that's a real problem here. And for him to play the card of, oh, we're doing it the hard way, we never had it the easy way. No, you didn't do it the hard way. You're getting pumped up by VCs and getting crazy amounts of investments by going listing publicly, right? Let's not act like you've had it really, really difficult. You know what you were doing, right? You picked your USP, which is that if Binance are moving fast, we're going to move slow and do it methodical way. It's a business decision. Don't sit there trying to play a victim card and then dance on CZ's grave on a day where, you know, the SEC have clearly gone out to attack him. If the SEC, if you weren't in their pocket, they would do the same to you, and they've even filed a lawsuit against you. So I'm not sure why you're kind of playing, thou is so holy right now in this moment. Very, very odd from Brian Armstrong there.
Bot, Catherine Paulson, Joseph Patrick, Matthew Edelstein, Elizabeth Pendleton, Scott Williamson, and Robert Howell. I'd also like to acknowledge our Director of Enforcement, Ian McGinley, and Principal Deputy Director and Chief Counsel, Gretchen Lowe. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a couple questions. Evan from CNN.
One on-topic and one off-topic question, if you will indulge.
That depends on the question.
Okay, that's good. So nothing out of the blue, nothing that we didn't.
Based on the allegations of this and some of the other cases that you brought, I'm wondering whether the concern in the industry about the ability of some of these startup companies, some of the smaller companies, to abide by this very costly regulatory and legal regimen that the United States requires, whether it will mean that you can't really do virtual currency and have this industry thrive and some of the cutting edge things that Lisa Monaco just mentioned with that very heavy burden of regulatory compliance. I'm wondering whether you have a message for the industry when it comes to that. And then if I can ask my off-topic question, we're expecting at any moment the Israeli government and some of the other parties to announce an agreement for the release of hostages being held by Hamas. If you can comment on that, and also just what the Justice Department and some of the other agencies that are represented here are doing to respond to the attacks in Israel on October 7th. We know, obviously, that Hamas has had a presence here in the United States, and the concern about how they raise money, including, of course, by cryptocurrency.
That's what this is all about.
Something that is on everyone's mind. I'm wondering what you're doing about
crypto anymore.
In light of what happened.
All right, let me start with the off topic. I was in a meeting this morning with national security officials, law enforcement officials, and the president regarding fentanyl. And he told the press that his team has been actively negotiating over possibility of bringing home some of the hostages. They thought that we were very close to being able to do that, but that he couldn't say anything more at that time. And I also can't say anything more at this time. With respect to the deaths of Americans, we always investigate deaths of Americans. And we are actively investigating the deaths of the Americans using all the tools available to us. We have, I think, as the FBI director said at a recent threats hearing before the
Come on, geriatrics, spit your words out, boy.
We are investigating Hamas connections in the United States particularly with respect to financial support, and that includes cryptocurrency. But we are also concerned about the possibility of more kinetic problems that they could cause, and we're investigating that. Now, I've talked a lot, so on the on-topic question, I will say, you follow the law. You don't get a special benefit because you think that what you're doing is better for society, or better for small business, or better for big business, or better for international. The United States has laws, and everybody, including cryptocurrency platforms, have to follow the law.
Chris Bloomer. There's been a lot of concern about how unregulated the cryptocurrency markets are. You were able to get these guilty pleas. It took a long time. I'm just wondering, how do you feel like realistically the significance of these guilty pleas are? What do you believe it could? What kind of impact could it actually have on the cryptocurrency markets? And then just a quick follow up is, there is criticism that this is not a significant. There's like 10 of them in the room. This isn't significant enough. That there might be a situation in which nobody goes to jail, and the penalty itself, Binance is able to pay that penalty. How do you respond to that criticism?
I think I'm going to call on Nicole Argentieri, who's the Acting Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division, to answer most of the questions you're talking about. The broader ones that have to do with regulation, it's possible Secretary Yellen or the CFTC chair would address. Where'd you go? Oh, over here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I'll take the second question first. I think looking at the pleas today, by every possible measure, these are some of the most significant penalties that the department has ever imposed on a financial institution. Not only is it one of the largest penalties imposed against a financial institution, this is the largest penalty that's ever been imposed on a money services business. It's the first corporate resolution with a cryptocurrency exchange, and it's the first resolution with an MSB for sanctions violations. And the financial penalty is it's not the only significant part of the resolution. Binance, which is the parent holding company, is agreeing to plead guilty. And as part of that, we're going to impose a monitor for 3 years. The company has to enhance its compliance program and to continue to cooperate with the department. So we think it's quite a significant resolution. In addition, the agreement with the company requires Zhao to step down from his role as CEO and prohibits him from any present or future involvement in operating or managing Binance. So we think this is a very significant resolution. In what tools do we have and what should people take away from today? I think that today's actions show that if you serve U.S. customers, you must comply with U.S. law. U.S. financial institutions are the gatekeepers for the safety and security of our financial system. And because Binance served a substantial amount of U.S. customers, it was a U.S. financial institution that was required to comply with anti-money laundering laws. And what those laws say is that Binance had to have an effective anti-money laundering compliance program, including procedures to know its customers and to monitor for suspicious activity. And what happened instead is Binance and Zhao prioritized profit over compliance. And that failure to implement effective AML procedures led Binance to cause U.S. customers to transact with customers in Iran that violated U.S. sanctions.
Treasury or CFTC want to, the podium is yours.
Well, just very briefly, I agree with the comments that were just made. We actually have rather strong legal authorities to police this type of activity. Virtual currency exchanges are financial institutions. Financial institutions of all sizes are required to comply with AML, CFT,
the reason they're 30 minutes late is she couldn't memorize her lines. True story.
Obligations that they have, and cryptocurrency or virtual currency exchanges have those obligations as well. And I think today's actions show that we're very serious about enforcing the strong regulations that are already in place to make sure that illegal transactions are not fostered by cryptocurrency entities. This is a regime, just as banks can flourish, meeting these obligations. This is a regime that can support responsible innovation. It's not meant to end cryptocurrency activities, but to the extent they occur, it must be consistent with U.S. law.
I'll just say from a market's perspective in distinguishing Secretary Yellen's comments about AML and KYC, I've seen and we've seen gaps in the current regulatory structure around digital assets. I've advocated for filling in some of these gaps, specifically around commodity tokens. And I do think if we're able to do that, obviously with Congress's help, we can prevent these actions from happening and not have to be here after the fact. Some of the traditional tools of registration, surveillance, examinations, they've worked well for decades in the US financial system for both market regulators. And we think those types of tools around digital assets, if improved and expanded, would certainly help in preventing some of these bad actions from happening again in the future.
All right, thank you. Stefania from Financial Times.
Hello. I had a question both for the DOJ and Treasury. So when it comes to the types of priorities, enforcement priorities in crypto that the DOJ has had, there was a big focus obviously on digital platforms that commit crimes or that at least let them happen. We've obviously seen the DOJ bring big cases now against Binance, FTX. Treasury separately has also increasingly taken actions against crypto players when it comes to money laundering or sanctions violations. So in light of these actions, having taken these actions in the market so far, what are your priorities now, both for the DOJ and Treasury going forward when it comes to crypto oversight? Are you thinking of deploying different types of strategies, especially since we're seeing a growing aspect and angle when it comes to national security concerns beyond, say, a financial stability concern when it comes to these crypto platforms?
That's a great question. I'm going to let the deputy begin the answer for the Justice Department and kick it over to Matt if needed on national security.
Thanks very much for the question, Stefania. I mean, first thing I'd say is these are incredibly complicated and resource-intensive and time-consuming cases. And so we need the resources, and we're willing to and have, as we've shown today, and in prior cases, deploy those resources. So we're always looking to add our resources and agent investigators, prosecutors. Second thing I'd say is you have seen, both with our actions today and in prior cases, that we will be relentless in using every tool that we currently have to deploy against those who seek to use technologies in a way that abuse those platforms, that cause the, or don't prevent the use of those platforms for illicit activities. But we always want to make sure that we're working with Congress and others to make sure those tools that we have today stay up to date. Right? We know that the bad guys and the threat actors will try to exploit every crack and crevice they can to exploit technologies, to exploit gaps in the law. You've heard the CFTC chairman talk about some of the tools he needs. So we want to make sure the
All right, guys, let's listen into this tweet from Richard Teng, the new Binance CEO. It is an honor and with the deepest humility that I step into the role of Binance's new CEO. We operate the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume. The trust placed on us by 150 million users and thousands of employees is a responsibility I take seriously and hold dear. With CZ and our leadership team support, I have accepted this role so that we can continue to meet and exceed the expectations. The foundation which Binance stands on today is stronger than ever. To ensure a bright future, I intend to use everything I've learned over the past 3 decades of financial services and regulatory experience. My focus will be on 1, reassuring users that they can remain confident in the financial strength, security, and safety of the company. 2, collaborating with regulators to uphold high standards globally that foster innovation. And 3, working with partners to drive growth and adoption of Web3. We are here to say, please lend me your support. Excited for the days ahead. Nice message from the new CEO of Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange.
Yeah, I would just say briefly that as we respond to the nature of the threats we see today around the world, whether we're talking about terrorism, we're talking about nation-state adversaries like Russia and China and Iran, we are increasingly using our tools, sanctions enforcement, export control enforcement, cybersecurity from nation-state adversaries. We're increasingly seeing the ability to use the tools that we have in the Justice Department from a law enforcement perspective to better protect the country by going after those threats, using those tools in new and innovative ways. So to your question, we are constantly adjusting our approach and our priorities to meet that threat on a daily basis, and I think this case is just one more example of that.
Well, I would just add that I think what the case today shows is that Treasury's priority is to vigorously
All right, guys, you can't hear me. Look, I was spitting some gems there. I was saying, guys, don't want to listen to them anymore. What I wanted to say was the reality is this is not about crypto. This is not about what CZ did. This was something bigger. They wanted to go ahead and mute what was going on. This is to do with their geopolitics. We heard there. This was to do with funding. Only they can fund countries, and they didn't like that other people were using crypto as a meme to make sure that money is flowing to certain places. And the reality is, if they actually cared, they'd look at the owners of the banks. They look at CEOs of JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and all the other big American banks, Bank of America. All of those will be serving fines and prison time. The reality is that it's a lot more to do with their geopolitical concerns. We know that is what is driving America right now, and it just happens that CZ is caught in the wrong place at the wrong time as far as I'm concerned on that. The reality now is that CZ steps down as the CEO of the biggest exchange in the world, and now steps up Richard Teng, somebody with 30 years of experience in regulation. So out goes the kid, the child that was Binance, growing rapidly through a crazy growing crypto environment, and in steps the grown-up Binance, a company that now has to go and serve us users into the era of crypto mass adoption. It's got to be regulatory compliant. It's got to be robust. It's got to be able to tackle all the licenses in all the different jurisdictions, because now it's not just a small company. 150 million users, billions of dollars at stake here. Binance is having to move into its now mature phase of growth, and we look forward to seeing what happens there. Markets seem quite comfortable. Bitcoin sat just shy of 37,000. Nothing new added by the DOJ. CZ gets a slap on the wrist. He'll disappear for 3 years. Maybe he'll come back after the ban is served, right? And Richard Teng will go and spend 3 years working on regulation and working on the fact that making sure that they've got all their I's dotted and their T's crossed. So crazy day here in the crypto markets, but again, just frustrating, hugely frustrating that US just wants to continue to push their agenda. This is not about consumer safety. This is not about them trying to protect you. They couldn't care less about you. And the reality is what they really care about is protecting their own interests like they always do. Hopefully you guys enjoy this live stream. If you appreciate this type of content, smash up the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. Sorry that there was